which you will all have the opportunity to respond to. I will be asking some maybe more specific questions depending on how much time we have or where we're at. You might all get a specific question, you might or not.
Sorry, what's your
Good evening. Welcome to the Kent Union's elected official debate with KTV. I am Lennox, and tonight we will be hearing from the candidates for the role of Student Engagement Vice President. I am joined tonight by Carolina van Eldik.
All right, well, hello everyone. My name is Carolina, and I'm your current Vice President of Student Engagement at Kent Union. I'm rerunning in these elections because I'd love to continue the work that I've done so far and represent the student body for another year. In terms of my work in the past 2 terms, I think I've acted professionally, I've been passionate about everything, and very vocal to make sure that the student needs have been put on the centre of everything I've done. I've delivered on student priorities that were voted on by our students. I've organised some important campaigns throughout my time. I've also helped with the day-to-day running of student groups and organised a really fun and large range of different events. So I think with my skills of initiative, good knowledge in EDI, and strong leadership skills, I'm the best candidate for the job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. We are also joined by Todd Gray.
Oh yeah. I'm Todd. I'm running for obviously VPSC. Reason being, spent the last 2 years as the head of the lacrosse team here at Kent, the men's, and helping running the women's as well. Feel like I've been able to have a pretty good impact on that society in terms of benefiting the members on the pitch and off it. And so I really want to be able to bring that same passion to the whole of the sort of activities and student engagement side of Kent, really. Want to be instrumental in sort of taking Kent to the next level, especially with regards to sport and activities and stuff like that. And I feel like what I've been able to achieve in the lacrosse teams, the same skill set will help me do that for the whole of Kent, and I'm looking forward to hopefully demonstrating that today.
Thank you so much. We are also joined by Tommy Parjesa-Gray.
Hi, I'm Tommy. I am a third-year computer science student in the SEMS division, and when I came to university I wanted to discover who I was, and I was very fortunate in getting that opportunity, and I really want to allow every student to have that opportunity as same as I did. I want equality between all the different societies, whether it be sports or student media or community action. All of our different student groups deserve as all the attention they get for the wonderful experiences that they have, and I want to bring my skills to the table to help try and make that happen.
Thank you. We are also joined by Dia Kotecha.
Hello, I'm Dia Kotecha. I'm a third-year law student at the moment, currently the president of the Hindu Society. Goals that I wish to push is diversity and inclusivity, employability and student safety. I don't believe spiking and all of the current situations happening that's affecting student safety should be normal in our student community. So I want to push to help students so they can enjoy the student activities without feeling unsafe. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dia. And finally, we are also joined by Sheu Okunbenkun.
Hi everyone, my name is Shaya Gumbeku. I'm a third-year student studying digital arts. I'm also the president of my society, so I've had experience liaising with both like Kent Junior staff and the student body. I believe that socializing is a major priority for students, especially from the pandemic and the lockdown we came out of. So encouraging students to get more involved in activities and sports, it helps build soft skills that will help you even in your employability. So that's something I also want to focus on. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Tonight we shall be asking the candidates questions that we've come up with here and anything that you want to send in from home, so don't hesitate to send those in whilst we're live. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to pull up our document and we'll get going. Okay, so first of all, our main question that we're... Oh, hang on. Just having one moment of technical difficulties. Here we are. So our first question, kind of a real vital question is, what role do you think that student engagement plays in the wider academic experience? Carolina, we'll go to you first.
Of course. So I'm a really big believer that students shouldn't just come to university to get their degrees at the end of the day. Like, everyone is not just here for a piece of paper, they're here to meet other people, they're here to build their soft skills, become employable, have a great time and get involved in student activities. So when it comes to student engagement, I think it's really important to make sure that students feel like there's a club out there that they relate with, that they can come to for support, that they can come to have a nice time, relax, you know, and so making sure that there are more opportunities for students on campus is really important to balance out the hard work that they do in their academics.
Okay, anyone else, Todd?
So did you repeat the question?
Of course. What role do you think that student engagement plays in the wider academic experience?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I feel like, so I graduated, or I thought I graduated, and then had to come back to resit a module. And honestly, getting a job in the real world, I'd say that 90% of that was down to the soft skills, the skills that you develop, the confidence that I developed through my extracurricular activities, so the stuff running clubs, like doing all of that sort of stuff outside of lessons. Mm-hmm. I feel like, if I'm being honest, I think it's like, in reality, getting your degree is great, but once you've got it, the only thing that's going to differentiate you from the pack is the stuff that you've done, which falls into the student engagement umbrella, I would say.
Brilliant. And if I could just get you just set up for a camera, that'd be great. Thank you so much. And Tommy?
I mean, university at the end of the day is a learning experience. People come here to learn about and further their studies, but I think that learning doesn't end when you leave the classroom. I think a lot of the learning we have at university is through our extracurricular activities, whether that be learning a new skill or training at a sport, or even going on and developing leadership skills as part of a committee position. When I joined archery, I had some committee positions, and I learnt a lot of new skills through that. Graphic design through being media officer, and then leadership being president this year. And I think that's a case for a lot of students. They just want to experience these things that they wouldn't normally get to experience.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, obviously all the stuff that's been said is a good facts, but I think it just makes you also like an all-rounded person, like leadership, teamwork skills. These are all skills that you need to utilize when you are working in whatever you do in your graduate jobs. You need these skills of leadership, teamwork. There's all the information you learn in your academics. There's stuff that you can take on, but it's the skills to use that knowledge when you're in your graduate jobs that you can get from all the activities, all the extracurricular stuff that you do, essentially.
Brilliant. Shreya?
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said because it's really important. Coming to uni isn't just to get your degree, but it's also to build yourself as a, I guess, social butterfly, because employers always look for what you did outside of the classroom and what skills that you can bring to the table. And being part of a society, I've been in the position of being a president and media officer and a lot of things, but I've gained so many skills that I can say that I wouldn't have gained doing my degree alone. So it's really important, and especially interacting with other people, they like to see that you can, I guess, work with people well, adapt in any situation, but you get all those skills from joining a society or club. But yeah, that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Do you mind if I just add to what I was saying?
Pardon?
Do you mind if I just add to that?
Of course, absolutely.
So I was just going to say that how, realistically, when you go out and you go sit in an interview room, like, you're dealing with a person. You know, when you go out into the workplace, you're dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not dealing with a test. You don't take a test to get a job, in most cases. And that's all the skills that you learn from the extracurricular stuff. You're dealing with people, generally, rather than memorising stuff to pass tests or going on Google Scholar to pass your coursework. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Next question, and I think very importantly, especially in light of current events, half of the student population don't feel safe on campus. You know, we've already heard it mentioned with regards to sexual assaults and spikings that have been taking place across campus and in, unfortunately, union-owned buildings. So how would you work with student groups to improve this aspect of well-being? We'll, again, go in the general order, and if anyone wants to jump in, feel free.
Sure, we'll start here. So this is a big thing that has been a priority for us at Kent Union this year. One of our student priorities was around well-being and student safety. And this isn't necessarily something that falls directly under the remit of student engagement, but it was something that I was very passionate about. So I've done a lot of work on this. One of the big ones is, for me last year, when I was running in the elections, I noticed that we have student groups like Respect the No that do a lot of this consent work, but it shouldn't come from student groups, it should be initiative from Kent Union. So this year that's something I've worked to improve. So we've collaborated a lot with the university's Student Wellbeing and Support Office, as well as our student groups like Respect the No, in organising consent workshops for students, raising awareness about issues that are happening. And the more we talk about it, the more students feel like it is a safe place for them to come to us with issues if they have any, really shouting about all the resources that are available in terms of advice within Kent Union, but also at the university, has been the key of a lot of our communication. And I'd love to further that work with all of our other student groups. Collaborations between societies and community action groups around the topics of consent and safety have also been really successful. And I'd love to further that next year.
Brilliant. Todd?
So yeah, I think, as you said, it's really important, this type of stuff. I had a conversation the other week with the Empowering Women in Law Society about this, about sexual violence on campus specifically. I was talking to them about what they feel needs to be done, and I thought it was a really good conversation because what I sort of suggested to them was, it's not just, you know, some of the stuff we've got on campus to help prevent it is obviously better than nothing, but I feel like a lot of the resources available either have to be sought out, or they don't, in my opinion, target the sort of dealing with the sort of the culture and the the sort of the more root causes. It's very sort of, I feel like it's sort of a bit of a band-aid putting on some of these issues. I think a lot of it's quite PR, a lot of it's quite we're doing something rather than it sort of being actually impactful. And so I feel that with regards to safety and that, like for example, the spiking stuff that's come about recently, like hearing about people getting needled in venue, like it's absolutely mental to me how that's A, happening, but B, like if I heard that someone had got needled in venue, the first thing I would do is put a metal detector outside. You just walk through it. If someone's got a needle on them, then, you know what I mean? You don't have to sniff it out. But in terms of dealing with the culture side of things, I feel like it's something that needs to be built in, something that needs to be spoken with student groups, with, you know, from the union, needs to be actually addressed, that everyone is working together to sort of build a culture where this is absolutely not tolerated with everyone. It's not just kind of, it's bad, we know it's bad. Everyone that, you know, should be at uni should know that sexual violence, spiking, stuff like that is bad. But it needs to be something that as a team, as a uni, we're working towards being proud of the fact that it's not a thing here, that it's stamped out. It's not just, this is bad and it shouldn't happen and there's these services. If it does, it should be, no, it's a point of pride that Kent would be a safe place and you know what I mean, a really secure community, I think.
Thank you. Tommy?
I think that certainly awareness definitely helps. Having persistent awareness, so not just saying, oh, we're gonna do a week where we try and raise awareness. Actually being like, this is a constant thing that needs to be reinforced and communicated. And then working not just, as Carolina said, not just with student groups, but actually taking it a bit higher than that and trying to reach more people, using Kent Union as an actual establishment to try and communicate this all effectively. And I think it certainly it can ruin people's time at university. I think it's a big thing. I know people earlier this year who didn't want to come out and do social events and stuff because they were worried about this kind of thing, and university should not be a place of fear for people. People should be able to come and enjoy themselves and have a good time without being in fear of something horrible like that happening. And I think that's why it's really important that we need to just persistent awareness and actually make it kind of a campus-wide thing and make it communicated to everyone.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Like I mentioned in my opening statement, like spiking is just seen as such a normal thing now in student community, and it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. And I believe that like working, like as Carolina said, like working with, it should come from Kent Union. Like we did the drink covers, we handed those drink covers out. Like we should bring that back, you know, protecting people's drinks, stopping the injections, giving people guidance on what to do if they are spiked, you know, not just creating awareness about it. What do you do if you get spiked? Who do you go to if you get spiked? What does it feel like? People aren't aware, okay, what to do in that situation. And that's when they get scared. That's when they say, okay, I'm not going to go clubbing for a while, or I don't want to go acting. I'm scared to go out. I'm scared to do anything. And that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be scared to just like leave our flat or just to go to lectures and seminars and not enjoy ourselves, because that's not a university experience. And that's what I want to push. Like I really want to push the student safety, and that's one of my main goals. So like it shouldn't, we need to create guidance and posts and reels on what to do in that situation and help them. So that's my main initiative for that.
You should put on a poster in the venue. You know what I mean?
Posters, reels are the best way to interact with students nowadays. TikToks, reels, that's how you engage with students. Because that's like, since COVID, everyone's obviously doing reels and having fun with all the videos and everything. I kind of, it takes away, not just, you don't want to take away the seriousness of the topic, but you also don't want to scare people completely. You want to create that awareness. You want to, you know, just put it out there, you know, that this is happening. Don't be scared to go out, because if you unfortunately in that situation, you know, what we are trying to stop, which we are trying to reduce, but it is there, it is happening. So it's the guidance that you give them on what to do, who to go to, that's really important.
I'm just going to bring us
Are we allowed
back
to just chat like?
Of course, I'm just going to bring Carolina in. She just raised her hand to make a point. If you have a point, don't hesitate to.
Just on that, I think it's really important that we don't lay the emphasis on making sure that we don't become victims. We don't want to be constantly thinking about what we should be doing to avoid getting spiked. It's more about making sure that the wider community understands that you should not be doing it. And I think especially when it comes to spiking, there's a lot of misconception on what it is. It can be as simple as giving someone 2 shots instead of 1 in a drink. That's spiking, and friends possibly do that to each other on a regular night out without realizing the consequences. And just really emphasizing the fact that we shouldn't make sure that people are constantly thinking about how they should be staying safe, but helping just the bigger community on campus with preventing it from happening, I think is the bigger issue.
I really appreciate all of your points, guys, but obviously I'm aware of time, and we have got a question through from the audience that asks whether or not any of you have done anything within your student group specifically on this issue, in terms of working towards making things better for this area.
Specifically with regards to spiking or?
Spiking sexual assault, these areas, of course, we'll go to you.
Of course, Hindu societies with no alcohol, no meat, that's our policy at the moment. But with regards to sexual assault, when we do have events that are off campus, making sure that all our students go together, come back together, making sure like we know where our students is. We have a group chat to say when people get home, please message on the group chats and everything. So we just, obviously it's hard to control these situations, but just making sure that your members and the people around you are safe, even if it's your friends and your family as well, making sure that they're safe, that's the priority. That's the most important. And obviously, like, you got to start somewhere. You got to start small. So putting out things that show the guidance towards what to do in those situations. Obviously, I understand we need to make sure it doesn't happen, but you got to start somewhere. It is happening at the moment. So if you start small by saying what to do in those situations, that's a start. That's a starting point. And then you build up to reach the goal of we don't want it to happen on campus anymore.
Okay, I'm just going to go over to Shaya, because you haven't had much of an opportunity to speak on this matter. So we'll throw it over to you for a second.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just, answer the question about if my student group has done anything.
I would also like to add to that for you specifically. You do mention in your reasons for running that you're president of a society.
Yes.
But you don't actually mention
society.
which society it is.
Yeah, it's Believers Love World Society.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And yeah, of course, do you?
Oh yes, and how? I guess for our society, we're more of a family, I would say. So when we actually go out to do anything, we always check up on each other. We find out where we've gone, who's especially if we go out of Kent, we always make sure, have you gotten back home, message me and stuff like that. But it's just about, since we're a family, we care about each other and we check up on each other, and because of that culture, you bring it to your, whether it's your friends, your course-mates and everyone, just ensuring that everyone is safe. And I also agree with what Carolina said about this, having student groups and Kent Union working together on this, and just ensuring that everyone works as a team, especially even once you're elected into this position, you have to ensure that as a, student engagement officer, you also work with the other officers to ensure that this is done holistically. But yeah, that's what I'll say.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Is it quick?
I was just going to add to this.
Yeah, of course.
No, I was just going to say, you're tying this into what I said originally about making it needs to be a culture thing. With my student group, so across, I've been working with obviously men's and women's, there's 120 odd people, predominantly women. And whilst I couldn't say there's a specific policy brought in to deal with sexual violence or spiking specifically, do you know what I mean, on campus, I'd say that it ties into kind of what you were saying about that sort of family feeling, where it's, people that are going out, there's a group of lads and girls, and if one of them's walking home, then you're going to have friends there to be with them or what have you. And I think that should be the feeling. That's what I mean by building that culture in the whole of Kent. It should be, it should be a point of pride that we take care of our own at Kent. It should be do you know what I mean, a family, a group effort to support each other because we're all Kent students, you know what I mean, rather than just specific groups. Obviously, it's got to start somewhere, but that should be the goal. I think that the whole of the student body should feel like one student group. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, guys. We have another question from the audience. We have someone asking a question from Thomas. How would you ensure student groups are accessible to all, particularly LGBTQ plus participation? I'm going to start with Tommy, and then we'll go that way and that way. Nice little pattern, start in the middle.
I think that it's a really important thing for LGBT representation within our societies. Obviously, we do have an LGBT society, but obviously every society that we have on campus should be accessible, should be welcoming and encouraging of LGBT people. So something I tried to do as president was encourage the use of pronoun introductions when committee introduce themselves and when talking with members, because that can often be a miscommunication that when you first meet people, sometimes people can make assumptions and so forth. So just trying to normalise these kind of practices and just make it more welcoming. I think that I would like to think that nobody would be prejudiced towards an LGBT member in any society, but I know that's not always the case. And I think it's basically about removing the stigma. It doesn't, it shouldn't matter whether you're LGBT. You should be able to come and do whatever you want to do, regardless, and you should be accepted for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Well, I'll just say that you've come to uni, so I think it should be accessible to everyone. Like, you shouldn't feel as if, oh, I can't be a part of this group because they won't accept me. But I think joining a society, you should be allowed to join a society, whatever you believe in or whatever, LGBTQ, I believe that, yeah, that it should be accessible. That's what I'll say.
Brilliant. You want to jump in, Todd?
Yeah, sure. No, I think it's interesting because it's obviously there's no... I'd be really interested in actually doing some research into if there are people that feel like they can't join certain groups because of, you know, their sexuality or whatever it might be. Because I'd be really interested to sort of understand why people might feel like that, because obviously there's no structural reasons, right, why you can't join a group. There's no rule that says, in fact, you know what I mean, there's a lot of rules against it. So I'd like to know, actually do some research, and rather than taking a guess as to what we can do, actually finding out, speaking to people, being like, do you feel you can't join any groups because of these characteristics? And, you know, if so, why? And then actually make a strategy based off that, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, student's a student, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where you come from, what sexuality you are, what you believe, you should be able to join any group. People are going to naturally gravitate towards certain groups because they want to, and that's fine. But if there are people on campus that feel they cannot join a certain group because of this, I want to know why, and then I want to be able to make a strategy that actually targets that based on their experience rather than what I, a straight white male, think it might be.
Thank you. I'm just going to throw back to Tommy there for a second.
Yeah, so I think certainly one of the big issues I think would be with sports clubs and sometimes the gender-based segmentation of sports clubs. So I know personally I've had some problems with this, and I've been very pleased to see that a lot of sports clubs now do mixed events, which helps a lot, I think, because suddenly you don't have to be, oh, if you're male you go over there, if you're female you go over there, and I think that's really important. But I think still for some things there is a little bit of a stigma there of actually I don't quite know where I fit.
Sorry, what are you referencing exactly? What problems are you referencing?
So I think it's more, so for example, if you're at a sports club and they said, okay, competitively, we want to put you male and female, someone who's perhaps non-binary or trans might not quite know where they go in that context.
Right.
And obviously that can put a lot of stress on people and make people uncomfortable. And I think it's kind of about helping communicate that, and also and talking with potentially trans and other LGBT students to figure out where they would feel most comfortable is certainly going to be really important.
Thank you. Dia, you had a point, Caroline, I'll come to you next.
No, I think that's obviously a big issue at the moment. I do understand and everything, but then I also think another thing that a great solution for this also, well, a possible solution would be like collaborating with all the different societies and all coming together. So you don't just have to be a certain group of people to join the sports society or sporty or this type of person or whatever. You collaborate with like the Pakistani society, the Hindu society, the Indian society, the LGBT, any networks, women network, disability network. You all join together. Like we want to join together, stand together. Stand strong together. So if you collaborate all these societies together, that's bringing up this diversity, this inclusivity. This idea. So that's a great thing.
Thank you so much. And finally, Caroline, and then we will move on to our next question.
Yeah. So I think to really answer the question on. I'd like to just talk about a couple of things I've done so far in my role. Just coming off of LGBTQ+ History Month in February, I worked with the LGBT+ network and I sat in some planning meetings as well with the university and Kent Union to create a large calendar of events specifically to really celebrate the history and talk about all the hardship they went through, but also the ways in which they've contributed to our community. And I think it's really important that we continue to talk about this all year round, really, to make sure that they don't just feel like they're supported in that 1 month of the year, but that they're always a part of our, EDI 365 strategy, and that we're always working to improve their experience on campus. So one of the really big things that I love doing was my Rainbow Shoelaces campaign with the network. We created a pledge for our student groups on campus to take a look at with a couple of key points in which they could improve the experience of members of that community in their day-to-day activities, and we had some really good turnout for a couple of events in Canterbury and Medway, and it was great to see people coming together and fighting for a good cause, and just things like that. It'd be great to continue more regularly with collaborations with more people, so yeah, furthering their agenda, making sure that they feel represented and heard is the most important thing, and that they can come to Kent Union with anything and feel included.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I do see, but unfortunately we don't have time. We are going to have to move on to our next question. I'm so sorry. So moving on, we've got a question here about transparency in decision making, as it's another highlighted area in student priorities. So especially in light of recent strikes and the announcement of the marking boycott that was supposed to take place today, how would you plan to be more transparent in your role? I'm going to start at this end this time, and we'll move this way.
Thank you so much. I think just, informing students, I think there was a survey that was done for the students for the boycott and everything, and there was a report taken for how students feel about the whole strike and everything. And I believe just including including students more, because I actually didn't know about the survey that was done and stuff like that. But involving students, letting them know about what's going on, obviously their emails, but using the social media pages a bit more, because I think it's important to meet them at that point of need. So they watch, we look more at our social media than anything else. So just informing them more through that page and letting them know that, this strike is taking place, and we would like to hear your views, because I know a lot of people had mixed opinions. But yeah, that's what I'll say, meeting them at that point of need, really.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I think I agree with the whole social media. Obviously, people don't really check their emails a lot. So with the surveys going out through whatever platform, I believe that there needs to be kind of promoted more, the surveys, to get what students feel, how they feel about the strikes, the boycott of marking, because it's affected all of us essentially, being a third year. So it's one of the, most of us, being third year, final year, it's scary to not know, think that our assignments aren't going to be marked. So getting how students feel, being more transparent in that sense, and obviously going through societies as well. I think that's another way to go about it. When you create bonds with societies, if you don't just post things on the Kent Union page, because obviously loads of people are seeing it, but I think you increase the platform by also going through societies talking about this in their socials and stuff. I think that's another way you can kind of address being more transparent. But yeah, that's how I would go about it.
Brilliant, thank you. Tommy?
I think definitely, as they say, just increasing the amount of not promotion, but like advertising for these things is really important, and using student-led resources that are available, so societies, but not just societies, but networks as well, to try and actually gauge what the student population is feeling, so that we in Kent Union can better reflect what everyone is saying. And sometimes it's difficult to contact everyone. That's quite a difficult thing to do. But trying to communicate and reach as many people as possible gives us a better understanding of what the population at large is feeling.
Brilliant. Todd? So
yeah, I feel transparency is something that personally I'm a big believer in. This is obviously you guys wouldn't have seen in the sort of my clubs and that, but everything I believe, if you've got nothing to hide, then you can be open and honest about everything you do. I think that there's no reason for it to not be that way in Kent Union, which is a body which is there to represent students. Do you know what I mean? Like, there should be no decision unless it involves sensitive personal info that shouldn't be able to be viewed by the body that Kent Union is supposed to be able to represent. You know, like I've actually had a couple of things on Instagram recently about decision making and that, where there was a couple of decisions and I was told that if I put any more information online then I'd be struck off from this election, and I just think stuff like that is bonkers to me, because decisions that Kent Union is making, if there's nothing to hide, then the whole student body should be able to know, in my opinion, with everything. And the way you get that out, I think that's a brilliant idea about working with societies, because most people that are involved in societies, that is their uni life, you know? Like a lot of people that are in societies, and there might be in a few, that's their uni life. And if you've got, say, anytime there's a big issue, email goes out to heads of societies, or maybe there's a weekly or a monthly or fortnightly thing where it's like, these are the key points, can you disseminate this information to your members? Do you know what I mean? It could be just a few things, you're having a meeting, put it in your group chat, on your page, whatever, on your own Instagram, rather than, like you say, putting it on the Instagram, the Kent Union Instagram. I think you'd get messages out far quicker and far more effectively than just putting them on union pages, in my opinion.
Carolina, finally.
Well, first of all, Carolina, I appreciate all the feedback. That's great. Taking this forward, and everything we do from my next few months in the role will be really useful. But I think the main one, just to address the question in terms of strikes, I think what's really important to consider is that we'll be working on our student priorities as officers, and then suddenly out of nowhere, strikes come. And everything stops, everything drops. And in this case of the marking and assessment boycott, we had 3, 4, 5 days to come up with a plan of action. So when it came to consulting students, we had to fit it all into that short time frame in order to be able to make sure that we could create our stance on it as Kent Union Parliament before the marking and assessment boycott actually started today. So in terms of the way that we gathered feedback, it was actually on social media for the first time, which was really quite successful, and also in-person consultations as well. But it's quite hard to get students to come to us in short-term notice like that to give feedback, and that's something that I'm sure we'll struggle with continuously, but definitely getting more societies involved when it comes to that, just quickly, immediately sending them a message to make their members aware is definitely a great way moving forward. And with other transparency, I think the biggest way is just for us to reconsider how we communicate things. This year I've worked really hard with our marketing department to improve the way our socials look, to gather more people to come view our pages and be more interested in what we put out. But of course there's still plenty of work to be done. Just from surveying students briefly on Instagram, there's a real mixed opinion on where people want to see important information. It seems to be pretty split still between Instagram and email. But of course, doing my job, I do find that if I send out emails, I don't always get responses in a timely manner, which of course I understand completely because everyone's doing their own thing. You know, you're here for your degree, you're here for your extracurriculars, and you're not always particularly concerned about what questions I've got to ask. But yeah, moving forward, just thinking of creative and innovative ways to catch people's attentions, because we also appreciate attention spans are slowly but surely decreasing to like, what, 1 second at this point, really. But yeah.
Mine's a lot lower than that.
So I'm going to take a rebuttal from Tommy, and then I'm going to move on to the next question just for timing reasons.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is certainly something very important, because when it comes to strikes and the action taken, that is a decision that was made obviously by Kent Union Parliament. The stance of that was decided by vote, and that the people voting on that are people that have been fed back to by students and student groups and through the networks. So while yes, it'd be great, go put a group chat message out on a society group, that information needs to come back to the networks or to the officers or things like that, because obviously when the vote is taken and decisions are being made, all that feedback is needed to try and make those decisions. So while you could send out an email, it needs to be a two-way street. You can ask societies to find out, but they then need to feed back to Kent Union.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And are we wrapping up now? Brilliant, thank you so much. So I've just had it through that we're going to move on to some individual questions. Sarah, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. And we have a question here. It says, obviously you've already confirmed which society you're president of, but how do you feel that this experience with this specific society and your presidency of it is going to help you in the role of student engagement VP?
Thank you for that question. Being the president of, I guess, Believers Level Society, I've been able to take on a lot of responsibility, because basically doing that, managing projects, I'm managing events, I'm managing people, and those skills.
So can I just have you just bring the microphone quite slightly closer? I'm just having through from tech. Thank you.
So just developing skills like project management skills, time management, teamwork, adaptability, being responsible for someone, because basically I guess you can say that I have to take care of people, so I have to ensure that they are doing fine. I have to ensure that the events that are organized, that I coordinate them and, you know, give responsibility to other people. So there are skills that I've been able to develop that would help me in this role, especially even communicating with various types of people. Because of my role, I have to go out and speak to people, like different people from different backgrounds, and because of that, I'm able to, like, I guess, meet people at their need and understand where they're coming from, whether doesn't matter your ethnicity or your sexuality or anything like that. But yeah, because of that role, I've been able to develop organizational skills and a lot of skills that I wouldn't have developed if I wasn't the president. But yeah,
thank you so much. Thank you. Next, we have a question here for Tommy. From being an active volunteer across many student groups, what are some of the issues that you've picked up on, and how do you think you could work to develop them in the role of student engagement vice president?
I think that the biggest the biggest problem that seems to be coming out of a lot of things, especially networks, is engagement and how we communicate with students. So often students are very busy and have other stuff going on, but we still want to hear what they say and have their feedback, and also encourage them to get involved in events, and mostly also add to their university experience by giving them stuff to do. And I think it's sometimes quite difficult to say, well, you're here writing an essay that's due in a couple of days, why should you come and spend 3 hours, you know, doing a Team Kent quiz or something like that? And I think it's really about trying to encourage this sense of collaboration and engagement between all of these aspects. And I think it also applies to student groups, because obviously student groups want as many people to be joining their group as possible. And again, it's about it'll be about advertising and showing all the wonderful experiences within student groups. And so when you get new people who don't know what to do, they look at all these wonderful experiences and go, well, actually, that looks interesting. I want to go and try that, or I want to go try that. And it's really just about being transparent, essentially, about what kind of opportunities are out there and what experiences people can have. And that is, I think, what encourages people to get involved in things.
Brilliant, thank you. Our next question here is for Carolina. Do you think you have balanced your focus amongst all student groups? And how have you worked with societies, community action groups and student media? And how would you ensure a fair distribution of resources and events going forward?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for submitting that. So obviously, my background lies in sports, so I can see how some people may have thought that that was going to be my number one priority coming into the role. But actually, I've also got a lot of interests in all the other societies that we've got on campus. And I've put in a lot of effort to make sure that I have included them in all of the work that I've done. So in terms of societies, I've really enjoyed working with community action groups, especially UBT. I'm planning my Kent Girl Can campaign at the minute, which is happening right after elections. Not to pitch myself, but in case you want to get involved with that, stay tuned, because that's going to be really exciting. I also a lot of work with Respect the No in terms of student safety and linking that in with student priorities. One thing I would really like to focus on going forward, and I encourage everyone else to focus on as well, because that we've recognized in Kent Union, it's something that we would like to push for more, is making sure that we're representing our faith groups and cultural groups more, because diversity is one of our core values, and we feel like that's one of the areas that we can improve in, and I'd love to do that as well going forward. But I think I've also done a really good job including the LGBT network and the accessibility network in some of the stuff that we've done for Liberation History Months. So I think my balance has been there. I'm still working on it, and I'm always welcome for feedback and for more students to get in touch with me for campaign ideas and projects.
Thank you. Sorry, Todd, did you have a rebuttal there? Or
No.
I saw your hand.
No?
No, I'm seeing things. That's okay.
Happens to the best of us.
It's good. It's good that I've just kind of going crazy live on television. So that's a fun thing there. Moving forward, actually, we have a question here for you, Todd. In a similar vein to Carolina, all of your passions stated in your reasons for running are very sports-centric, especially focusing on lacrosse. And the question is, what experience would this give you to engage with other student groups and societies, including community action groups and student media?
So what I'd say to that is, my passion is obviously for sport. I'm not going to dispute that. Sport is what has been my personal vessel for developing my skills and having my university experience be amazing. But I understand it's horses for courses. People have different passions, people have different sort of hobbies, have different interests. But what I would say is, what helps you understand and develop a sports team? There'll be the same sort of principles that can then be applied to all of the other groups. So I'm not going to sit here and say I understand perfectly how I could, as of right now, I don't understand perfectly how I could, have a optimal impact on an academic society or a community action group. But no doubt, a couple of conversations with the right people, the skills that I've developing the lacrosse team will be able to be applied to those groups as well. I think I have a pretty good grasp of what sort of sports people at Kent would like to see, and then having a few conversations with the big other societies or other groups or the leaders of them, getting all together, having a conversation. Once I figure that out, no doubt we'd be able to deliver on that as well.
Brilliant. And I believe we have a rebuttal here from Tommy.
I think when it's talking about sports, it's very important. It's a very big part of university, but balancing that with all the other societies is really important. So the example I would use would be, we have varsity for sports. Can we do an equally big event for performing arts or something like that? Can we find a way to give all the groups, types of groups that we have, the opportunity to? Is there a way of encouraging student media to collaborate with with different groups and encourage all of that. And just trying to, again, as we said earlier, move it all into one big We Are Kent unit as opposed to potentially separate types of societies.
I'm going to bring to Caroline and I'll come back to you, Todd.
Tidy.
Just really quickly on that, we do also have things for societies, but it's because most of them happen towards the end of term 2, like International Showcase and World Fest. It seems like a lot of the focus in the beginning of the year isn't on them. So I think moving forward, it'd be really nice to introduce stuff earlier on in term 1 to really get the attention of societies and what Kent Union can do for them right from the start. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
And Todd, I will go back to you.
Yeah, just like what Tommy said there, I think this is exactly sort of like what I've been thinking about. You've got all of these societies, like I was looking through the list the other day, and you realise how many groups cover so many different vocations, interests, just areas of society. There will be ways to sort of create opportunities for members of societies that sort of interact with other areas of Kent. So like, for example, the media one and sport is an easy one, yeah. I'd love to have Bucks Wednesdays be a big event for the whole uni, you know. No one's having lessons, you've got like a midweek, one-day weekend, and you've got, you know, people filming games, people there doing, say, like you say, entertainment, so it'd be like people doing performances, doing stuff like that. Like it could all be one sort of big celebration of Kent, not just of sport, but of everything. And there will be other ways, do you know what I mean, where you can get different groups to interact with each other and work together to create more opportunities for themselves, other groups, and for everyone, even if they're not a member of those groups.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Shayo, and then we will go to Dia, and then we have time for one final question.
I guess one thing I just wanted to add is that we can also encourage, I guess, societies, academic student groups, let them know that there's actually like fundings you can apply for, which I recently found out, which is great. Because like, imagine if you're an academic group and let's say you're going for, I guess, a research project and you want to do something, you could ask the university to fund that, and obviously that will help in the larger part. But letting them know that we can support them financially and physically. If you wanted to maybe book the minibus or something to go for an event, you can also do that. But giving that information and giving them like support so that they have all they need. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Dia, you had something to add to that?
Thank you. Yeah. Just going on the fact that you said like, oh, with sports you have like performing and everything in one day. I think the best way to start that off is by creating the bond right from the beginning of term. So having like a committees day, like being part of the Hindu Society and being part of a big organisation called NHSF. They have like a committees day. So having a committees day where committee can come, meet Kent Union, their activities coordinators, and meeting them. It's like creating more of a family nature to activities and societies. And it's just creating those bonds right from the beginning, which does help with future events and collaborations and making these events bigger right from the beginning.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. My final question is actually here for you, Dia. But of course, as we see, you know, rebuttals are a thing, so don't be afraid to jump in, guys. It says here, in your reasons for running, you said that you'd seek to expand and grow our student union to be at optimum efficiency. The question is, what does this optimum efficiency look like to you? And more specifically, how would you plan to achieve this?
So in my Stabwatch interview, I did say my best advice was that you always start small. Nothing is ever too small or your task. So when I mean by optimum efficiency, I will always start. You always have to start somewhere, and then you grow to reach your goals. So obviously, like I said in my opening statement, my initiatives are diversity and inclusivity, and as we all mentioned, as I did mention, being an Indian woman with an African descent, you know, bringing that diverse perspective to the board is something I can bring, and like that's what I mean by pushing towards optimum efficiency in the sense of also student safety, as I mentioned, with the spiking, giving the guidance that they need, also with employability, pushing to make the jobs that we already have just more accessible by pushing them not just on the Kent Union website, promoting job shop just not on the Kent Union website, but like through the societies as well, so people are aware.
Brilliant. We have a rebuttal from Tommy.
I think certainly yes, with starting off small, especially given that Kent Union, or specifically Kent Union officers, is a kind of fluctuating thing. It changes a lot year on year, and new people come in with new ideas and fresh takes. And I think it's very much, if you look at Kent Union as a whole, not just in a specific year, is you get all these little nudges moving forward from different people and in different ways. And but the point is, it's always moving forward, and it's always going to be growing and moving.
Thank you. I'm going to take one last rebuttal from Carolina. I'll go back to you and then we will move on. Thank you.
So I think actually, just from being in the role for a couple of months, what's works best for me was just coming up with big crazy ideas. Instead of like, you know, gently nudging people in a certain direction. I've actually found that coming up with something crazy completely out of the box has helped. And then other members of staff have kind of like toned it down a little bit to create like a baby step plan to achieve that goal. So just a reminder, like, don't be scared to dream big, because you can really make a big change as an officer.
And Dia, what do you have to say to these things?
Like Tommy said, like it's always moving forward, and obviously on the way, like we obviously have the strikes with the whole assessment boycott. You're going to have setbacks. That's going to happen. That's inevitable. But then pushing forward, what you do afterwards and how you improve on that and how you move past that is how you will reach that optimum, you know, efficiency within Kent Union, and how you develop.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, guys. So we're now going to move to our closing statements. We will start as we began. So we will start with Carolina.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all for listening today. I think that I just wanted to say that the past few months, I've really delivered on the student priorities that were set out to me by the students for the students, which just goes to show that I'm a fit candidate for the role, to make sure that, you know, the student needs are being met. But I've also been really good at kind of thinking outside of the box, coming up with new innovative ways and creative ways to achieve goals. I think my work with the marketing team has been very good, and hopefully everyone can see the improvements there. And I recognize there's still a lot of areas for growth. And I feel very confident that with my passion for the role and also with my professionalism and good stakeholder relationships, I'm going to be the right person to continue to improve Kent Union, to make sure that everyone gets the student experience that they'd hope to get at university, and to make sure that everyone feels like they're fit to go out into the real world and get a job that they're happy with after their time at Kent, especially from their engagement in extracurriculars.
Thank you so much. We will move to Todd.
Right. Yeah, hopefully the debate has done a little bit of demonstrating sort of what I'm about. With me, it's just not really much nonsense. I believe in actually what Carolina said about setting a big goal, and working towards it. That's what's I believe has been instrumental in the success I've had with the clubs, and I would intend to do the same with the union, whilst going about it in a very no-nonsense, transparent way. I'm not massively overly interested in protecting things, like protecting the PR stuff. I just want results, I want to talk to people, I want to get to know what I can do for them, not what I think is best, what they think is best, and then actually do it and not worry about, you know what I mean, keeping the powers that be happy.
Thank you, Todd. Tommy.
Okay, thank you for listening. As stated earlier, I have a very diverse range of experience throughout different aspects of extracurricular activities at university, and I think that will definitely help me in the role and gives me quite a good idea of what different parts of the university are looking for. I would want to bring my passion and creativity to the role, and hopefully I can do a good job and make sure that when I look back on it, that I've done a good job.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Dia.
Thank you. So thank you for everyone watching out there. I do believe that I'm a good candidate for this job. I'm going to push my initiatives of diversity, inclusivity, employability and student safety. I feel like bringing my culturally diverse perspective to the board will be a good thing. My teamwork and leadership skills I have gained from my society will be good for the role. So please vote for me. Thank you.
Brilliant. And finally, Shaye.
Thank you everyone for listening, and yeah, I'd just like to thank you for listening. But also, I guess my role as the president of society has also given me a lot of skills that would help me in this role, and also just what I'd like to do mainly is just listen to you and I guess be that bridge between the student body and Kent Union. So always getting your opinions and making sure that feedback is given and there's a balance. So yeah, that's what I'll say. And back to most Shai. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I need to tell you that there will be no debate following us this evening, as we currently haven't actually got any candidates for postgraduate experience VP. There will be more information on Kent Union website, so go and check that out for an update on that. So yeah, I want to say thank you everyone who's joined us tonight. Thank you for everyone for watching, for sending in your questions. I've been Amber Lennox, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for the presidential debate. Good night.